Welcome to the second review of the evening. Up this time is DISTRAINT 2. If you remember, we reviewed the first game, God, I'm not sure how many months it's been, but it's been a while. Like, maybe about 6-7 months. Anyway, I suppose the amount of time doesn't matter. But yeah, we are here with the sequel. And the Nintendo Switch version was provided to us. So, over to the Golics, who also helpfully played the original on the Switch.
So, excuse me, cord was tangled. So this is a immediate and direct sequel to the original DISTRAINT, which to anyone who played the original DISTRAINT to completion, this will raise some questions that the game is not in an amazing hurry to answer. We actually covered this in our previous review, but it kind of puts the entire game in question mark in terms of how much you can talk about it without spoiling stuff. Unfortunately, I was not able to actually complete it, but yes.
I suppose there will be a requisite spoiler warning because you really can't talk about this game without talking about the first one.
You can a little bit, but yeah, before we get into anything super specific, I guess. Yeah. So, at the beginning of this game, you are the same main character from DISTRAINT 2, and you are very much stuck in your own head after the issues at the end of the previous game. And you are immediately presented by basically what seem likely to be mental manifestations of your own greed and reason, and you have to find hope because otherwise you're not going to be able to continue to live. Because if you remember in the first game, as it goes over in the intro to this game, the first game was all about Price being basically a repo man. That's what DISTRAINT is. It's the legal term for when you take back property because it can't be, or you force someone to stop renting a property because they can't afford it, basically. And he, over the course of the game, realized that what he was doing was hurting people, and he decided that he was a terrible person and he couldn't take it anymore. So in this game, he's dealing with, like, does he deserve to continue to exist as a person? And there's a lot of pain that he caused other people and himself, and can he learn from that, or can he not deal with it? As with, like, aesthetically and control-wise and everything, it's very much following directly from the first one. It's cartoony aesthetic, but done in a way that they clearly knew what art style they were going for. For one thing, when you get to the edge of an area and can't go any further, if it's a mental area. And also whenever something seems out of place, the screen starts glitching and the music drones up. There's a film grain filter that one of the options is to adjust that and the brightness. So yeah, the graphics keep it from being arguably more horrific than it would be, but also it's still stylized in such a way that it can be emotionally affecting.
I think this game really embodies the term psychological thriller.
Yeah.
Emphasis on the psychological. Like its sequel, like its prequel was.
Like in the first game, there was a component of what you were doing that was normal, and you were just having, like, weird mental episodes in the middle of it and between it. In this game is certainly, as far as I got through, one prolonged mental episode.
Mm-hmm.
How far did you get, Adam?
I don't remember. Like, not that far. I think I had to go play other things at the time, and it was a while ago.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have time to complete this one unlike the first one.
I mean, it's pretty in line with the first game in most areas. I'd say the place it differs the most is thematically. Like, it's in fact, it's the diametric opposite of what the first game was doing. But this kind of goes into what the game is trying to achieve, and that's like the question of redemption. Yeah.
Right, because the first game was all about Price realizing that he'd done a lot of horrible things, and that those things were actually horrible and not just something that's okay because it's part of your job.
Right.
This game is about, okay, so what do we do about that?
Uh-huh. And it's also, not taking the easy way out, i.e. suicide. This is actually about working through the pain and coming to terms with it. At least that's what the objective seems to be. I too did not complete the game, so I could not say if if there's a choice in that matter or what have you. But that is what this game is about. It's about, it's basically redemption. It's a redemption arc here.
Mm-hmm. Or like, I don't know. Honestly, with the tone of this game, I don't know if he decides to redeem himself or if he decides he can't go on.
Once again, that doesn't mitigate the fact that this is about redemption. That just reframes the question.
Right?
Will he get redeemed versus is he worthy of being redeemed? But it's still about redemption for horrible acts, because that's going into the first game. Yeah, it's not just he had to kick people out. He had
he had to kick people out, and at least one person died because of it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably more moralistic about this than a lot of people in this line of work.
Uh-huh.
Well,
because before he was all lined up to be to get a big promotion at work and become a partner in his firm and all that stuff, which is a very real thing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But, it's like he's somebody who couldn't hack it in that level of moral ambivalence. So, the first game ended with maybe he killed himself.
Mm-hmm.
And
he had his gun. He had the gun in his mouth, and and I think it sounded off that he pulled the trigger. But also, it's possible to survive that.
Right. Well, that's one of the questions that's being posed in DISTRAINT 2.
Yeah.
Did he
pull the trigger? Is he having second thoughts before that?
Well, it's more.
Is he in a coma in the hospital?
Yeah, it's more. Where he is now, is he in his head or is he in the afterlife?
Right.
It's like, is he trying to talk himself out of pulling the trigger, or is he trying to redeem his everlasting soul?
Mm-hmm.
So, I suppose it's two pathways to the same end.
More or less, yeah.
But, and, in terms of mechanics, well, once again, if you played the first game, you'll be familiar with this game. Because
you walk left and right, you can run left and right, and when there's an interact thing, you can interact with it, either pick it up or examine it or talk to it. And if you pick up an item in your inventory while you're I think they smoothed this over a little from the first one. Now, when you have the option to interact with something, you can just push up and down to cycle between interact with it and interact with it with one of the items you have.
Right. Yeah, it's the small refinements you'd expect from a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And the art style is, like I said, it's all pretty consistent with itself. And if you're not familiar with DISTRAINT, honestly, I'd say go check out our review of the first game. You really do need to start with the first game because
don't play this if you haven't played the first one.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a brief overview, but not enough.
Right. Are you searching for the word here?
It's not enough. You really want to have the full knowledge of the first game before you do this. Before you play this one is the ultimate point.
Right. Because this, it's not really. It's not only a direct sequel. It's not a game that's really interested in catching you up. And hell, the first game is only a few hours long at best, so it's not a major investment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm presuming that this game is longer just based off the price tag alone.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I didn't get far enough to tell you that for certain.
It happens. Nobody's complained about us not completing a game before, so maybe it'll happen one day. But getting to pricing, so price parity is a thing with this, because the console versions were done at our good frenemies Radalikia Games. I'm like, they publish some good games. They publish some amazingly bland games. Like, I'm sure that'll come up again soon. But in terms of DISTRAINT 2, yeah, this game is $8.99 on all platforms. Though worth mentioning, on the Steam, it's got a few extra amenities. You can get the OST for $3.99, or the bundle for $11.68, and there's the complete journey bundle, which is $12.58. And I'm gonna, in terms of purchase recommendations, get the complete journey bundle. Get both games, because we already explained why you need the first one, but if you since the second one's out, you should probably pick up both games anyway. They're not like the original game was like $5 if I'm remembering correctly, maybe, within that range. So this is a bit more, but I think it justifies its price well enough. What about you?
Certainly, if you're interested in a horror type experience, that's all it's very it's not like gore, and for its resolution, it has some pretty disturbing background imagery occasionally, but it usually does that in ways that allow your imagination to fill in details, rather than by being highly detailed itself.
Yeah, I mean, this game does have content warnings, cartoon violence, not realistic, some cursing, and adult themes. Really, I think that it's the adult themes that stick out the most here, because this is some heavy psychological stuff here.
Although Price does swear quite a bit, which makes sense. He's experiencing some shit.
That's to put it mildly.
Yeah.
But this seems to be a solid follow-up to the first DISTRAINT. And if you can, I suppose, stomach.
Yeah, I can't vouch for whether or not you personally will like the ending.
Yeah. But this game recontextualized that into.
Even for this game, I didn't get to the ending, so I can't guarantee that you'll like it.
Right. Fair enough. But yeah, it's like if you can endure the adult themes, and like this is real adult shit. This isn't gratuitous violence or what have you.
I made a choice to do a job that I thought would make me successful and enable me to live a comfortable life. And now my parents are dead from just being old, and I realized that while I was making money at my job and doing well at it, it turns out that that job also was hurting a lot of people.
And also, the material wealth didn't fulfill the hole in his soul.
Yep.
You know, this is some of the most adult shit I can think of.
Yeah.
Like, so, you know, with that warning in place, still going to say that this is a solid follow-up. You know, it's it's fairly simplistic, but that's the goal here. And you know, it's still a bit of a game. Like, you still do some nominal puzzle solving, like the first game, but you know, it's much more interested in its themes and its story than its gameplay.
Yeah, they're not puzzles where there's like a consequence for failing it. Although when there's a scary thing chasing you, there's a consequence for hitting it. But
yeah, but
it's not like that. The puzzles are generally of a very sure you can just fiddle with the dial until you get the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. True enough. Anything else to say on Distraint 2?
I think I've said pretty much everything there is to say that from what I had. It makes me a little uncomfortable because it's that kind of game, but I rate it very highly.
I'm like, duly noted. So that'll about do it for Distraint 2. Be sure to tune in after the break, as Petty Fan will be reviewing Stellaris Console Edition.